The Roger Snipes Show.
Looking to fuel your fitness journey? Discover Prozis, Europe's leading supplement brand. From protein powders to vitamins, pre-workouts to wellness essentials, Prozis offers an expansive range designed for every goal and lifestyle. Trusted by millions, crafted with premium quality and delivered right to your door. Wherever your grind, Prozis powers it. Visit prozis.com and take your performance to the next level.
This podcast is brought to you by Clearlight Infrared Sauna. If you want the ultimate biohack, then this is it. Clearlight Infrared Sauna has state-of-the-art heating technology to produce optimal wavelengths of 360 degrees infrared heat. Traditional saunas raise the temperature from the air, but infrared saunas raise your temperature from the core. The result is deeper tissue penetration. This is the perfect way to remove toxins. It promotes healing, revitalization, penetrates fat cells, and stimulates metabolism. Clearlight Saunas is energy efficient, costing up to 45p per hour, virtually close to no EMF and low ELF technology. They also use eco-certified wood, so no toxic fumes when heated. You also get a lifetime warranty on a residential sauna. If you'd like to learn more about Clearlight Saunas or pick one up for yourself, then just click the link in the show notes and check it out.
Yo! So if you've been following my journey, you would know that I was diagnosed with cancer in November and went through a bit of a journey, like hospitalization, chemotherapy, a concoction of drugs, and surgery. This led me down an interesting path where you learn a lot about yourself and people around you. This raised my interest in learning more about cancer and how many other lives it has affected. This has led me to my guest today, Shivani. She's a WBFF bikini fitness model with a background as a banker in the corporate world. But other than these titles, she's a well-rounded human being with an interesting story about her own personal cancer journey. She has shown courage, resilience, and perseverance. Let's dive into the podcast and bring on Shivani Vaghela. Hey Shivani, how are you doing, my friend?
Hello, Roger. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very well. I'm so glad we're able to connect today. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, after having a look at your post, I think I came across you through Instagram where you commented on one of my recent posts to do with my whole cancer journey. And you opened up about your own journey, your own cancer journey. Wow. And it started in 2022, is that correct?
That's right. August 22 was
Wow.
when I got diagnosed with a rarer form of breast cancer called DCIS. So it sits in situ in the breasts of a female. So it's not one that actually spreads further into the bloodstream. But it was a really long, complex diagnosis that took a lot longer because of the complexity, because of how it was, and because of the scans and things to get to a point of decision as to what to do. I'm going to correct you on something though, Roger. You know me from like 2013 back in
What?
Reebok
2013?
gym.
Seriously?
Yes, you do. You're not getting away
Oh.
with that.
Where did we meet? I mean, what is it? An expo, fitness show?
No, you were at the Reebok gym.
Oh, do you know what? You mentioned this, yes, because we did talk, and you mentioned at a Reebok gym, but For the life of me, I just couldn't
Forgotten me.
remember.
What a shame.
But you did say you started when I left or something. Isn't that
No,
correct?
no, you were still there. But then I think you left shortly after. You weren't there for that long. I was quite insignificant. It's all right.
Right, right. You also mentioned that I was not a nice person or something. I remember you
Oh
saying
yeah.
that.
You remember that bit.
I remember that bit very intensely, yeah. Oh, hopefully I've changed since then. I have no
I
idea what
hope
happened.
so. It can't have been that bad, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. Just yeah, energy level wasn't quite
Oh
aligned
no,
at
you were
that
just a
point.
very good trainer, and I think you intimidated a lot of people.
Right, right. Okay, okay. Yeah, we take it as a
Take
positive.
that, take that as a compliment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
Mm,
So yeah, I think through the fitness landscape, and I've competed, and obviously you've been phenomenal in the WBF BFF shows. It was Angie who said to me, "Oh, have you seen that Roger's been going through something?" Because she and I are quite close. So that's how I thought, let me see what's going on, and I thought to reach out more from a place of support because I
yeah,
think as much as especially somebody like yourself, you have quite a sort of high profile and a lot of people probably messaging you and giving you support, but it can be still quite a lonely journey going through it, and it always lasts a lot longer than I think you think it's going to last. Like in my mind, I thought, okay, in a year it will be over with and I'll be able to crack on. Um, but still, I think, what is it now? 2.5 years on. I think I'm only just on my upwards trajectory from it.
right, right.
Yeah.
So, how long did your treatment take exactly? So, you said it wasn't like a form of cancer that spread. It lays what
It
dormant
was,
in one
it's yeah,
spot.
so it was localized. I had surgery, so I had what they call is a lumpectomy. And
Hmm.
then following that, they analyze that whatever they've removed in terms of the flesh, skin, and cells. Now, my diagnosis was so complicated because it was so early stage. In fact, it almost made it worse because it was really hard to define from all of the scans, and I had multiple biopsies. It went on for probably 3 or 4 months. I must have had 8 biopsies until we'd made a decision. I was on my fourth consultant. I got rejected by two consultants who said it's too early. We're not really sure. And that was through private healthcare, and then went back through the NHS with a bit of a fight, saying something doesn't feel right. I found an amazing consultant who I'm still under now, and she helped me a lot. I emphasize the she. We went through lots of analysis of cells and this and that, and then eventually we came to a conclusion that the scans weren't showing up enough. I'd had MRIs, I'd had mammograms, I'd had ultrasounds. We couldn't get to the bottom of it. And we decided that the right thing to do was to go for surgery and then see what that took us from there. And I think that was the hardest bit for me, that you can't just have a piece of information and understand your entire journey. You end up um, having to wait for each stage to understand the results, to understand what to do next. And so I got to November. I did compete in the middle of all of this.
During this whole process, you was competing.
Yes. I
Wow.
did my pro debut for WBFF. Um, so I'm quite proud of myself for having the mental resilience to keep going through it. I was working through most of it. I had a little bit of time off around the surgery time, but actually, I thought I was going to be able to have the surgery. They would do the analysis, say they had enough margin, and that was going to be the end, and I could just leave it all in 2022 and carry on with my life. But life doesn't work that way, does it? And I got to the January, and I my consultant, I went into that meeting or appointment, and she said, it's not good news. And I was like, what do you mean it's not good news?
Mm,
That's supposed to mean. And she said, oh, we found more cancerous cells. Um, and I don't think I've managed to get enough margin. It's really close to your chest plate and bone. I've done what I can. Um, but we're definitely going to have to give you radiation because I can't tell what's left. So that's when I had that. And then I went on a chemo drug afterwards that it didn't really agree with me. It's like a pill, it's more preventative. Um,
Right. A
and it causes,
chemo pill.
yeah, it's like a preventative drug.
Uh-huh.
It's because I had an estrogen receptive cancer, it effectively blocks estrogen to the estrogen receptive cancerous areas of your body. But in doing that, it causes a whole load of side effects, as you can imagine, messing up with your hormones. Myself, as I'm a bit of a martyr, kept going for a year. It affected my training, affected my move. It gives you extreme type menopause symptoms. I had infections after infections because it's an immunosuppressant as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I stopped that drug just under a year ago, but it's taken me another additional year for my body to get back to where it was as a result. And obviously the radiation and itself and the surgery has caused a number of things that I didn't expect. Um,
Wild.
so yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder you was very emotional in the whole situation. I'm surprised you even competed as well, in all fairness. You said you
Um,
competed and you was working
yeah,
throughout
I did work through most of it.
most of it. And you competed. Like how did you manage like emotionally during that time when you're dealing with this to also because like competing by itself is hard work when you have to you have to prepare yourself for the stage. You have to go through an aggressive diet. Was you taking any medication at the time whilst you
No,
was
I wasn't. I think for me, it was a mental game. Uh,
mm,
I had such a great relationship with my breast care consultant that we talked about whether I should or shouldn't do it. Because I literally started prep in that August just as I got the diagnosis. Um, by the time I met her, I still continued with prep. I think it gave me a bit of a focal point as well,
yeah.
on the one hand, and also I have such a great coach. Shout out to Tom Brazier, who has known me for what's probably been like 6 years now. I don't know, maybe more. Um, and between the two of them, I was like, is this the right thing for me to do? I really want to do it. Can I keep going in amongst all of this? And nobody said no. And I felt that their belief in me gave me more belief in me to
Mm,
do it. And I actually, at that time, decided to raise awareness for cancer whilst doing the show through my social media platform. And also, the fact that there aren't many Asian females that are on stage, as a female over 40, all of those things, I thought, right, well, let's turn this into something really positive. Whether I win or whether I don't win, at least I can raise awareness for a number of things and stop the taboo of what cancer means and what it means in terms of whether you can or cannot do something as
mhm,
well. So I think that kept me going, and it helped me compete. I think the aftermath after I competed was probably a lot harder than I imagined, though. I will say that because I think, as I said, I thought I was going to get through surgery and that was probably going to be the end, but it
mm,
wasn't. Um, so it was then, I think, later harder to stay positive. And I think the emotional exhaustion is probably came in the last year after the number of appointments that you still have to keep going to and all of the checks and for me, the anxiety around the checks and the scans and being scanned every like 6 months or 5 months and this again and this and that and all of the issues that arose as a result of the radiation or as a result of the drugs that were on. I think the emotional exhaustion came then. And
mm,
actually, I don't know whether you experience this, Roger, yourself. In the beginning, when you first get the news, you have two types of people. You have the people who are there for you and are like, oh my goodness, this is shocking in their own sort of way. But you also then have the people that sort of back off and go, whoa, this is too much. But then slowly what you realize is as your journey goes on, after year one, less and less people are around. and you're still doing this thing, it is a marathon, right? You're still going through this cancer thing. It's like, okay, I've got to go back again. Now, what's the consultant going to say now? What does this mean? What's my prognosis? Um, Now that I've taken these drugs, I've increased the risk of you trying cancer. Okay, so now I need to be scanned. It just went on and on and on. And this journey becomes it sort of chips away at you, like slowly. For me, I was getting very, very tired. But everybody else around you is also tired of hearing about it.
Mhm.
So I think your support changes, or the other piece for me was being so strong through it and so resilient through it. Even the strongest of soldiers are going to need a rest for a little bit. And I think that element and that support from the people around you, it's really hard to say, actually, I need your help now. It wasn't maybe at the beginning because I could, the fight or flight or dealing with a crisis at the time, I could then probably handle. I think a lot of strong people would. But I would say that's how the journey has evolved for me.
Mm, mm. I found myself that there were some people that were there and some people that just wasn't really. And you get, let's say around Christmas time and birthdays, you get people who they literally only contact you because it's your
Yeah.
birthday. Like you
Yeah.
don't ever hear from them. Oh, happy birthday. And it's like you might just see a WhatsApp message and that's all it says in the whole history. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, or Happy New Year. And that's it. And you're like, why don't you ever contact me any other time? So those types of people actually reached out to me. Oh, I heard the news. I hope you're all right. And if you need anything, that was the most popular one.
Yeah.
You
I
need
mean,
anything. And I'm thinking, but you've never been there before. So what makes this so special that you say anything like you're my biggest supporter? And I even had a couple of people where they say, if you need anything, let me know. And I'll just shoot them a message to say thank you, and it will take them like 5 days before they
to
respond back.
reply.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's not the sort of support
So
that I need.
I sadly have a really close friend of mine, a best friend of mine, who is currently also going through breast cancer.
Right.
Uh, and this has been a conversation topic of always around how people behave around you when you have or you're going through cancer. And it's fascinating, the projection of views, the fact that all of a sudden somebody's now a qualified oncologist and has a lot of information to tell you about how this is going to go down without even knowing your full diagnosis. But I think the biggest thing for both of us as well, and again, similar to what you're saying, Roger, has been that a lot of people say, let me know if there's anything that you need. And actually, it can sometimes be quite disingenuous because they don't really want to help you. So please don't say that if you don't really want to do anything. And if you do really want to help, I think the question is, how can I help you? And this is the capacity that I've got to give you, as in, do you want me to do some shopping for you? Do you just want to have a cup of tea? Do you want to have a phone call? Just ask the questions. If you really, really, really want to help, I don't say anything at all because there's a lot of people, and probably in your phone, that have said, let me know if you need anything. And actually, nobody's really there because when you do really need something, and there are moments when there were appointments that I thought, right, I really need someone to come with me. When there was one appointment that I asked 14 people in my circuit that were local to me if they could come with me. And every single one in the end said no or cancelled last minute. It was almost a test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I maybe rightly or wrongly so went and did most of my journey by myself. I think I wanted to maybe at the beginning, but slowly I realized through the emotional exhaustion, it might be helpful if someone could just be there to hold my hand or give me a hug at the end of it.
Yeah.
But that in itself, I think, is a really difficult thing because people don't know how to help people. And we're all
Mm.
isolated in our own world. So there's an element of us saying, this is what I need as well to the two people. But I think people asking, how can I help you? And even just like making you some food can be really helpful. Just
Uh,
something that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had someone helping me with that, like, some food. I had some people come to the hospital and bring me some fruits and stuff like that. So that was really nice. But there were many people that, yeah, I don't know, gave the fake, I'm there for you.
Yeah.
But for them, it's like, whew, let me tick that box out of the way. I offered, you
Yeah.
didn't take it, so that kind of, they can feel good about themselves. And then there's people that just surprised me. I had a friend, again, friend who I called during the situation. And it was just because I needed someone to chat to. I just want someone to talk to because, I've been alone through this journey. And no, not really alone. I just went through a phase where I just didn't want to speak to anyone because
Mm.
everyone that spoke to me, how are you doing? Are you okay? I don't want to be talking about cancer all the time. I want to talk about something else. There are other subjects to talk about.
Yeah.
So I decided to call this friend up. And each time I phoned him, he was just busy. He was just busy all the time. And the first time he answered, he was like, "Yeah, do you know what? I saw the news on what you posted on social media." I was like, "So you didn't think to give me a call to see if I'm okay, to see if I'm still alive, you know?" And he was like, "No, I've been so busy, but I'm so sorry. I'll definitely give you a call soon. I'm just busy at work." I was like, "All right, sure, sure, no worries." And waited for him to call. He didn't call me back. I called him back. We had a brief chat, but he had to go because he was busy. One day he called me. I was like, finally, the guy can call me. And he sounded a little bit low. I'm like, "You okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm not too good." I was like, "Really? What happened?" He said, "I lost my job." I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that." And I said, "How are you doing, like searching for work?" And he's like, "Oh, it hasn't been easy." I said, "Maybe you can get some help through universal credit and just get on it as soon as possible, and in the meantime continue to look for work." He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'll do that, but I wanted to ask, could you lend me some money?" I was like, "Wow,
Through
wow."
your
That was
own.
the real reason for the call. Not
Wow.
nothing to do with the cancer, nothing to check up on me, just to tell me that he has a problem now and that he needs help.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Have my fair share of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think, and through your journey as well, now that you've been through this, and I guess there's two things here. You and I have been quite similar in the fact that we've both kept training through most of our cancer journey. What I've seen from what you've done is pretty remarkable. Roger, you just stopped when you had to stop, and you didn't have a choice, and the doctor said no, literally. And both of us, I would like to think, used it as a mechanism to understand that our bodies are still capable. I definitely did that for sure. Um, but the one other big thing that I took away was about how precious life is. And maybe that's why I carried on training and it made me feel like I could continue for as long as possible. But I wonder also, in the conversations with the people that you've had around you, like the guy that's asking you for money, that people don't actually realize what life really is about and that it is really short. And we don't know how many summers we've got left in front of us, and that priority around people that you care about and doing the things that we love gets lost. And until you've had, I call it a life quake like this,
I like it.
you don't actually know what it feels like to not know how much life you've got left,
Mm.
and how to make the most of it afterwards. And people are still lost and consumed in whatever it else it is that they're doing, whether it's chasing money, chasing this, chasing some other sort of validation. And they forget that actually you don't know what's going to show up tonight or tomorrow morning, um,
You,
through that.
you see a lot in people where they just get caught up with one thing in their life, you know. And a lot of the time it's like work. People
Yeah.
just focus on work. They don't even focus on family. It's
But
just,
modern societies led us to one of the things you ask of a lot of children is what do you want to be when you grow up? And
mm,
why do we ask that question? Why do we not say what type of person do you want to be? What type of characters do you want to have? What sort of personality do you aspire to have as you grow older? We never ask that question. What type of human being do you want to be? We always associate work with such a big part of our lives. Yes, we need money and we need income, but there's so much put on that. I think we do get hooked into this. I need to do this or I need to be here. And I think some people find balance, but it is, yeah. And most of the reasons to those 14 people that couldn't come to support me was, guess what? Work.
work.
I have a
Yeah.
meeting that I can't move, or a meeting's come up, or something of that nature. And I would hate to say, well, what, I hope this doesn't happen. The situation that you and I have been in doesn't happen to those people where they need somebody. But I think the difference for me now is somebody said they really needed me. I would probably find a way, if they really needed the help, to be there
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just good to lead by example as well, even if they don't for you. You know,
Yeah.
those people, I don't need them to do something for me in order for me to do something back. I'm
Yes.
just gonna be me,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Like this guy who he didn't even call me while I was in a hospital bed. He just saw it online, didn't decide to check in, but only called me because he needed money. Now I could have just I had to I had to put him in his place and realize how much of a shitty friend he was. And then I hung up the phone. And then I messaged him and said, look, send me your bank details. And I deposited some cash. He called me back and he thanked me so much. And and then he said, like, he just, he realized how shitty he was. And he said he was going to, be better. After that call, I haven't heard back from him. Now, I feel sorry for him,
Yeah.
really, because for me, it's like, I'm good. I've done my part, but now he's putting himself in a real bad situation. The longer he leaves it, he's going to realize, oh my God, I've been even shittier. You know, we just have to do better. We just have to do better as human beings. And people just get caught up with work. I've got a brother who he's been, you could say, separated from the family because all he has focused on was making money. Like he
Mm.
won't even answer his phone because he believes that it's taking up too much precious time where he could be earning money. Yeah. I'm like, wow. The only way people can contact him is through uh WhatsApp messages. You can't phone him. Can't phone him. He will never answer. Just WhatsApp me. I'll get back to you when I'm ready. And I ain't heard from him for ages until yesterday. I was like, oh my God, he's contacted me. Hey, cool. Why? He needed something. Wasn't checking in on me. He needed something. Human beings, man. They gotta
Yeah,
change.
it's a sorry state.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's just try and take it back a little bit. On the discovery, loads of
Mm,
people ask me questions like, when did you discover? Like, how did you even know that you had cancer? And for me, it was like I just felt some pain. Well, before the pain, I had things that gave me signs that it was there, but I chose to ignore it for a long time.
okay. So I almost have to thank my prep for being on prep. And I was getting leaner and leaner. And though I didn't really know, I didn't even notice the lump that I had. I went to have some laser hair treatment under my armpit. And as I was lying like this, like back on the bed, um, the lady that was doing it, she said, I can see something here. I was like, what do you mean? She said, no, there's definitely some sort of lump or something. And I was like, oh, she might be right. Which actually, unless I was lying back with my arm up, lying flat in that position, you wouldn't have noticed it at all. Like even if I was standing up, you couldn't see it. Also, I was super, super lean. And as you know, like women lose their body fat straight off their breasts. It's one of the first areas to go, right? You do. So that was the other reason why it was more noticeable. Um, and if it wasn't for her, she said to me, I'm calling you on Friday to check that you've booked an appointment with your GP. And you know what she did? And I had, because I was almost a little bit intimidated by this lady because she was I think she's like in her 50s,
Mm.
deadly serious. And I had, and then I got my appointment. I spoke to the GP, who said to me, it doesn't seem like there's anything serious there, because of the texture of the lump. However, let's get this checked properly. And
Mm.
then within another 2 weeks, I'd had another appointment, of which that consultant said to me, it seems okay. It was a lump of what they call, it's like a sort of fatty tissue called a hamartoma. But that's when I had the first biopsy. And then this thing went on, and that biopsy actually found that even though the lump wasn't cancerous, they found some cancerous cells behind it. And that's when we went through this really long diagnosis of, okay, if there was an incidental set of cancerous cells, are there more? And what do we do about it? Which is where different consultants had different opinions, that maybe it was just a one-off. And for me, I don't believe there's such a thing as a one-off, like few cells. And I was right to persevere. So it was actually, again, like physically, I felt absolutely fine, but this mental game of understanding, one, my diagnosis, two, what was happening, three, the fact that, I mean, I turned it into what was like a PhD project on the
Yeah, of
basis
course.
that there weren't really many studies on what to do for uh, this sort of cancer, and also on women under the age of 50. Most research had been conducted on women over the age of 50 for a start. So I was almost a bit of a guinea pig, which is why all of the consultants were having different opinions. It was going to their internal roundtables as to what to do with me. For me to then actually then find the consultant that I'm under now, who was of the same view as me, that let's do this. And we did find more cancerous cells. It was absolutely the right thing to do. But it was, I mean, for me, the outcome of this was, ladies, check your breasts. Like every single different kind of angle, just check them, because this could be something that right now, 2.5 years on, similar to my best friend who actually has a similar kind of cancer to me, but later stage, and she's ended up with two sort of 4 centimeter areas that were harder lumps.
Hmm.
She's only a year older than me, so she's 45. Um, if we both found our cancers at exactly the same time, she might be in a really different place than she is now. And she's ended up with a full mastectomy, including her lymph nodes under her arms. The difference for her is that they managed to get all the margin, so she's not going to have radiation, she's not going to have chemo. But this is, again, everybody's journey is completely different. So,
Mm.
and again, back to people's reactions, where people are saying, well, oh my, well, you're fine now, you're clear. Yes, she's clear, but she's having to have an entire restructuring done. It's going to take over 2 years on one side of her body because of the amount of flesh they've had to remove. So every journey is different. Everybody feels different. Even she felt okay. She just noticed two hard lumps. Um, so you do have to keep an eye. And every time for me now, it's like, if you suspect anything, just go, because it could save you a much, much more treacherous journey later.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting you say that because for me, it was like cancer wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah.
Like cancer, whew, damn. Sorry that happened to you, bro. And then find myself in the situation. So when I'm in the hospital and I'm told that I have cancer, I was like, this is obviously a mistake. You have no idea who you're speaking to.
Yeah, no, and
Check
I think
again.
that it's really odd, isn't it? Because you think about it, and also you think from an age perspective. I think you think in your 40s that you're invincible. Anyway, I didn't think it was going to happen to me. Like I don't, from a health perspective, I would say I'm one of the people that really does have her eye on the ball with most of it in terms of fitness and what I consume and sleep and all of those things. So it was a shock not only to me, but it was a shock to my closest friends, all a bit confused.
Mm.
Like, no,
Ironic, right?
impossible. It was exactly. It was almost the irony of the fittest person in the group of friends and the healthiest and the one that like cares and about how, there are other people say, but you treat your body like a temple. Like, how is this happening? Um, and that is how I felt. I felt I don't actually know how this is happening. I have back to the career thing. I had all these dreams for the next 2 years from a career perspective of what I wanted to achieve. And all of a sudden this thing had come along and gone, no,
Right,
not
right.
now. You can't do that. You're not going to do that with your job and career. You have got this to deal with instead. Um,
Mm.
and I'm still baffled by it.
Do you feel as though it may be some kind of message for you somewhere along the line? I mean, that's that. This is something that I feel for myself. Like, because again, the irony, two people that are very health conscious, and in our circle of people, we're probably the ones that are preaching what are the best things to do to stay
Yeah,
healthy
yeah,
and avoid disease. I
yeah,
mean, that's one of my key um, focuses. That's like almost my brand ethos,
yeah.
health span
Longevity.
and lifespan,
Yeah,
longevity.
yeah.
When I
And
got struck with
looking and
disease,
feeling great and having, I pride myself on having nothing in my body as well in terms of anything, no Botox, no this, no that. I just want to be as normal as possible. And
Mhm.
I couldn't even, for me, it was like, well, why? But at some point, and I can't tell you when, I saw the message as a gift to slow down and not in terms of like my goals and my dreams, but to let and sit and think why am I trying to do this and what am I going to get out of that and what does it mean to have to achieve that financial goal or this goal, and to take that pause and to really reflect on, and I've said it in another podcast, there's a book called 4,000 Weeks, and
Mhm.
it's one of my most favorite books because right now I've probably done 2,000 of them, and if I've got 2,000 left, what am I going to do? And that's weeks. And if you think about that and you equate that to the number of summers and you equate that to the number of healthy summers that I've got left in terms of quality of life, you start narrowing that down. And maybe I've got 20, we think. So what am
Mm.
I going to do each summer as it what is that going to look like? And I don't think I would have slowed down to pause and reflect on that if this hadn't happened.
Mm.
But the only thing I struggle with now, Roger, is that I see things through a lens that I didn't see before. And I look at people and what they're doing with their lives and they're choosing to spend their time on. And it makes me really sad that I'm sort of seeing, like, as you described, the person that's like killing themselves, like 42, 43, 44 to get that goal or achieve this or achieve that success. I'm like, why? Like, it's amazing on the one hand that you've got this determination, but are you really happy? And I know happiness and all that can be classed as a state of mind, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to feel happy, you should. But I think the pain that's going along with what some people are doing, I don't know if it's worth it. And it's probably going to make them sick in the long term anyway.
Yeah. And probably most likely they're not happy. They're chasing this idea of happiness, believing, this template thing that a lot of people follow. As long as they follow that same thing, then they'll achieve happiness, not realizing that you can choose to be happy without trying to chase
Mm.
after it. I know I got a book one time. It was called something like something to do with happiness. I can't remember the name of it. But I really wish I remembered because I read it years ago. It was by a guy by the name of Sean Acor, and in the book, it was mainly just discussing about making the decision to be happy. And he was trying. He said lots of people are trying to, achieve certain goals in work or maybe in their studies. Once they have this certain degree or once they have this certain family, then they can be happy. Like this has to be there. But what you don't realize is as you're slowly going through these things and you're achieving certain things, you don't all of a sudden just be happy. You realize
Yeah.
that it doesn't work that way.
No,
You're
it
like, okay,
doesn't.
right, I need to work on the next thing. Like you're more stressed if anything. You're like, oh, right, how much more things do I need to tick? It's so not that way. And it's quite fascinating. And you see people like that constantly moving from one thing to the other. And something like this, as you say, you know, like a disease can slow you down, and you've got no option but to sit down and think because you can't move anywhere. So you have to think, and you
Yeah.
start thinking what is really important. And you're not super excited to rush back to work and get and like let's say kill yourself for a company that you've
So
been
I
working
I
for.
was I just wanted to go back to everything being normal. I think through some of this, which is why I was working through it. But then I did have my epiphany moment and I quit. And I just thought, what am I doing? And I quit corporate life. And I've tried a number of things. I worked in a few startups. It's been fun. Um, the goals have shifted for me. So that space around if I can do things that are going to bring social impact, if I can do things that are also in an environment like that I'm around people that are inspiring, that we're look, life is not easy. So I'm not often it's not about a hedonistic goal of just having joy all the time,
Yeah.
but it's doing things that have maybe a lot more meaning. Um, and just fit in a better way. And it's not about chasing that, okay, right, I'm going to make this much money this year or this or that, or that's the goal, and or I need to be at the top and running this. No, it's a very different story. And having the opportunity to rewrite that story, I think this early on, back to, oh my goodness, how am I like 42 diagnosed with cancer at the time? Um, I'm really, really, it is a gift because I could have got to 50 or 55 and thought I didn't do those things. I kept working this way because I thought it was the right thing to do, or I wasn't brave enough, or I didn't have the courage to stop and say, actually, you've got a chance to do your life however you want. You've now realized that your life could change again in 5 years' time. Cancer could come back. What are you going to do with this window to make sure that you have literally no regrets if you were going to die tomorrow? And that's how I changed my thinking. And I just wish that everybody would think a little bit more like that. It's not about packing
Really?
up and going to Bali and just forgetting everything and leaving everything behind. But I think it is about like, is it making you have moments of joy every day? Things are tough. People are going to piss you off. You're gonna have money and you're gonna have not gonna have money, whatever it is. And people are gonna die. That's the thing. Like when you hit your 40s, people around you start to die. People are getting old, like family members are getting old. So what is it you're gonna do with that time right now that you've got between 40 and 60 where your quality of life is hopefully still really, really good?
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's so interesting. We all have these life-changing thoughts and moments, even when we started our fitness journey, and we realize how good it is for the body, and we just want to preach it to others. You need to do this.
Yeah.
Avoid type 2 diabetes
It's
and
really interesting you say that because one of the things I've started to say to some of the more corporate people that are out of my friends that are more business minded, I sort of say, look, see it as an investment. You put money into your stocks and your shares or in your bank account with whatever savings interest, like you started doing that in your 30s, so that when you're 60 or 70, you're going to retire with X amount, hopefully. Fitness is exactly the same. You can't wait until you retire at like 50 or 60 and then all of a sudden decide, like, okay, I'm going to start investing in it now. You're not going to get the returns on that if you're not investing in it earlier on. It is
Mhm.
actually that simple. But people won't dedicate the time to it to invest in their health now to reap the rewards later or through their life going forward.
Mm. Lots of people do start super late. And it's interesting though, because it's almost like what is the pillar of fitness? And it isn't just eating well and training. I think you need to have like spiritual fitness as well, and also a tribe to some degree.
Mm,
Strong family, good friends, a good circle of people as well. Because, like, I don't know if there's something else, but I've seen people that don't necessarily eat very well, but they live long lives. I'm
yeah.
like, how? How? And that's because they have joy within themselves.
Yeah.
They don't stress. They're happy. They don't try to be conniving to other people. They don't even care about other people, apart from certain people in their life that is maybe family or close friends, and they're just living in this fairyland, but they live a very long life, healthy life. And it's like, wow, like what's the most it's like how do I tap into these things and make sure that I keep all these levels nice and high?
I like,
Because as we discussed, like you could be living this so-called like healthy life and then get struck with disease. As far as I'm concerned, something was wrong then. When people say, oh yeah, it happens to anyone, no, I don't think so. I don't think it can happen to anyone. Something went wrong. Like maybe you had too much stress.
so I,
Stress
I I
causes
agree with
disease.
that. I do agree. As somebody that's quite an anxious person,
Mm,
uh, I have had a lot of anxiety through, especially through my 30s and some periods like in my early 20s as well. Um, I think that's probably, I mean, I've had a number of autoimmune disorders in my early 30s, and I think some of those are all born out of internalizing stress. Um, so back to your bit, I mean, I was saying I like what you said because I like the phrase spiritual fitness. I think having that peace internally also helps significantly in terms of how physically it can show up. Because I think in some ways that's why it manifests itself. And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know what, because we've never experienced it. We don't know what it feels like to just feel that peace and joy as well.
mm,
And that in itself is something to work on.
mm. Constantly. You've got to constantly work on it. I pray every morning, um, and every evening. And sometimes throughout the day, I'll just have like some tranquil music playing. I went to see my grandmother yesterday and my mum and my grandmother and sister. And it was just such a lovely time, spending time with family. And then when I was driving back, I just put on some tranquil music in the car while everyone was beeping horns around me and swerving around. Like that's in London. I live in Essex, so it's very different. It's a bit
Yeah.
more peaceful in Essex. The moment I go in London, it's like, I don't know, just as the flick of a switch is different. Everyone's aggressive, but I just blocked out the world. Soft music, every car's like exploding in the back. I'm just driving
Do,
slowly.
do you now found your ability to let certain things go, like the things that might have ordinarily cause you road rage, maybe don't cause you road rage anymore? Because I think there's a lot of those things for me where I just like, "Look, we'll get there when we get there." Like
Mm,
it's out of control. Whereas I think maybe prior to cancer, I might have got a bit more stressed or a bit more angry, but now I see there's just no point.
mm.
Um,
I've
because
always been that
it's
way.
not in, yeah.
No, not always, not always, not always. All right, in my 20s, very different, very different. But I would say in my mid 30s, that's when I slowly started to change. I started to think about longevity and the sort of human being I wanted to become. And then like, as I started to get establish myself in my 40s, I just felt it was very important to be very calm in situations and analyze a situation first fully. It's like sometimes someone can say something to you which might upset you initially, but I think it's really good to ask a lot of questions to really know what was the reason for someone to say that, like where is their energy at, who are they as a person? And you just don't have to take it upon yourself to be unhappy. It's it's your choice to be unhappy. Just understand the person said it for whatever reason, and then you can decide how you're going to deal with it. The same as the people on the road. I actually laugh at the situations where, let's say, for instance, I'm driving, I realize I'm in the wrong lane. I indicate to go in another lane, and then people speed up. They see you indicate, they're like, oh no, I need this space. You can't be there. I'm like, you idiot. Like, why? Why? You know? And I just laugh about it. I laugh about it because otherwise, yeah, it will turn in road rage. And then you are left with those feelings. You'll take it home and then it will be amplified by something else and amplified and amplified. And before you know it, you're sick. You got a disease
Is, is
over
there
road
any
rage.
is there anything, Roger, that you've changed since everything you've been through?
I would say um, focusing more on quality over quantity.
Mm.
So I remember when I went to school, there was lots of people that I knew. I remember I had a school reunion when I was 30, and I just thought it was so great. And I wanted to just try to be in contact with all those friends that I went to school with. And I remember I created like a WhatsApp group, Facebook group, trying to get everybody together. And I realized that no one gave a shit. Like, no one made an effort to try to be part of this group. I was like, yeah, we all in school together. Let's try and keep in contact. And nobody had the same enthusiasm. And I really tried to push and push and push and push for this to happen. Didn't happen. And I also have many cousins. I created a WhatsApp group so that I could try and keep in contact with all of my cousins. Slowly, people started to exit the group. Exit, exit, exit. I was like, doesn't anyone care? What's going on? And then eventually I just realized that you can't force people to want to be around you. If they don't want to, then just find the people that do and focus on that. So for me, it's like I've just deleted certain people out of my life, just focus on the quality of people that really want to be in my life. I see what efforts are being made. And for me, it's about that. And it takes away, you're not exhausting so much energy. You're just focusing on the ones that love you, you love them back. And it's for me, it saves a lot of time, makes you feel more at peace because you're both aligned, you
Mm.
know. Um, and also the same thing is I've got lots of uncles and aunties, and I've got my grandma who is like really old. So for me, it's like calling them regular. I've got many which are overseas. Unfortunately, some of them are going to disappear before I can make it. But
Yeah.
I'll get on those calls. We'll do some video calls so that we can have a good laugh and talk in the meantime. And I can get some, I don't know, some maybe some life knowledge and advice or something, or just connect with them. I'm still connecting with their soul, even if I'm not there in person, you
Mm.
know. With my grandma, she just lives in North London. I can drive there, sit down, spend some time with her and just see just I don't know, just see her laugh. It's such a beautiful thing. So for me, it's just connecting with people that want to connect with you. I'm not trying to be everybody's friend as I was before. Just trying, yeah, I knew you from this time, so we have to remain friends. If people are not making the effort, yeah, you can go.
Yeah.
I save my own time with that. Yeah. What about yourself?
I mean, I I I quit the corporate rat race. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a massive thing. Um, I went to the Caribbean. I love the Caribbean. Just to have a
Mm.
think. And um my goals are different. And I genuinely mean that me having a social impact, I don't know what that fully looks like yet, is really important. Um, through business because that's what I'm good at. And I don't think I would ever have done that if it wasn't for this. I absolutely would not have had the courage to just basically go, fuck this.
Yeah.
And see things through a completely different set of eyes including people and including that exactly what you said, treasuring the right connections. And I think connections are really important. And there's a lot of people around who will tell you what you want to hear as well, or validate your experience of, yeah, that doesn't feel good. So they're saying, yeah, that doesn't feel good. Okay, if you don't like that, so don't do that. And I've actually found a group of out of those friends now, a few people, maybe two or three of them, who will be honest with me. And what I mean by that is, am I being stupid? Just tell me I'm being stupid. Like, am I putting too much emphasis in this? Please tell me I am. Or if I, those sorts of responses
Mm.
from people that really care about me and have got my best interests at heart are the ones that are really, really, really important. And I have the most wonderful sister, and she's the one person that will always tell me when I start chasing the wrong thing, does it bring you joy? And I sort of have to sit back and go, oh yeah, maybe I am going back to the old version of me that's chasing, the whopping salary or this or that. And like I said, I'm further down the journey. You start to do what I call default a little of like, okay, you stopped for a reason, and now are you forgetting that that could have been a stressor, and you actually took the courage to make the first step of changing a lot of things in your life. You got to keep that courage up, um,
Mm.
along with, with all of the other things that we choose to do. It's like, how do you keep that courage, that conviction? If you believed in yourself so much a year ago to make such drastic changes in your life, you've got to keep that belief going. Otherwise, you're still not going to get there. And I'm still going to be in the same place, like I said, when I'm 50, going, oh, you didn't quite do that, despite that life quake happening. So I think
Mm.
that's probably the biggest thing for me, to keep on the track that is going to get me to the place that I believe I should be going to
Mm.
in this journey of whatever life is supposed to be.
I think again, like with spiritual strength that helps you along the way, it doesn't feel like you're trying to force yourself to try and be something. And I think that's one of the biggest errors in life where people keep talking about chasing your dreams.
Hmm.
I don't think it should be a case of chasing, like you should naturally find it, and it should be fun as well.
It isn't the end goal, and it's so cliche. Oh, it's the you got to love the journey, but it is that. It's the path that you're walking on, and you'll come across things on that path, but you still walk through it. And you don't know when that path's going to end, but I don't think there is an end point, because
No.
just keep going and you keep going and you keep walking through it, and there'll be good bits and there'll be bad bits, but you just have to keep going.
I think there's always a lesson, and I don't even believe that good in good and bad. I just,
Mm.
just almost like dark and light. That's all really. But yeah, because something which is perceived as bad is sometimes really good. Like I remember having this really shitty relationship, the worst relationship I had in my life. But then it was the biggest experience that I had.
Yeah.
Without that experience, the future relationships I had after would have been probably really bad. So,
Mm.
you know what I mean? It was like, well, it was a great experience. So, was the relationship bad? Don't know. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not what you would have hoped at that time. But sometimes we want things to happen and it doesn't work out that way and it goes another way. And we realize that was the better path to go down, to set you up for something else.
Absolutely. And I think my career post cancer, the beginning of cancer stuff, since I decided to experiment, I'm going to call it. It's been a very long experiment, and I've met so many interesting characters. And each time, I'm a real optimist. I've sort of gone, this is it. And I'm like, what is it? First of all, what is this it that I think um is about to be really life changing? And my romantic view of so many things, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be the most fulfilling thing ever. I realize that anything can be romanticized or can be wonderful if you really, really, really want it to be. Yes, there are certain things that you I might not want to do or don't align with how I am or my values. But you can romanticize anything. You can make anything really, really positive if you want it to be that way. And it still, for me, always comes back to the people and the connections that are around me in any of those situations. So back to really like wanting to give people that positive message and wanting people to believe in, I don't know, that stupid thing that they want to do, whether it be learning to play the guitar or sing or whatever, or do something fitness or maybe compete for the first time, whichever, whatever it is. You don't have to give up everything in your life to do it, but just do it. Let's give
Yeah.
up the useless things that are going on in your life to dedicate that time to it. So you don't get to a point in your life where you regretted not having a go. Um,
Yeah, so
and
true.
and it's for me, it's so sad that quite often only a health problem or a big life quake is the reason why people then go off and do things. Because I mean, the only thing you have got is your health. So do it whilst you're healthy and you feel like everything's okay. Don't wait.
Mm. You know, mm, I always had certain values in my life anyway, even before the cancer. Like I always valued friendship, I valued family, but I think with cancer, it just made me delete certain things that were
Mm,
unnecessary. Um, but you know, with regards to doing the things that you really want to do, that's super important. And I think it's something you should always have. There should be like little like mini goals or mini celebrations along the way. Certain things that you have between, you know, working hard and that sort of thing. But I think there needs to be, you really need to step back and think, okay, why am I doing the stuff that I'm doing?
yeah.
Why
But also
am I doing
but a
it?
lot of the time that's social conditioning, right? We're conditioned to
Yeah.
think, do, okay, I've got to have the children, I've got to get married, I've got to do this job, I've got to go to university, all those things. We're conditioned to believe that that is the route that I need to take. So actually, your brain is not wired, and the people around you most of the time are not wired to actually maybe take something that feels like a much bigger risk and quite often isn't. And I think the one thing that I've learned over the last year is like without having a go of the things that are really radically different, um, you also sometimes don't understand whether you really like them or not. Because
Mhm.
quite often you can do those things and think to yourself, oh, wow, this is actually rubbish. I don't actually like it. But at least you know you've had a really good go
Mhm.
at experiencing that, as you said, like whatever experience it is. And you come out of it going, I've had a go at that. Really don't like that industry or that sort of work or that thing. And my preference is this. But if you don't have a go or try and break those social norms to try something a little bit different, even if it's just for 6 months of your life, how will you know? And how will you understand like what it feels like and what the measure is against those things?
Mm. Yeah, some people, it's so true. Just give it a go and try. And loads of people there, I think that again, that conditioning you mentioned, people have this conditioning where it's like you're it's like they're afraid to fail at anything. They're afraid not getting it right immediately. And it's such a crazy idea to think that if it doesn't work out, then your life is over or something. Hey,
Yeah.
man, it ain't that serious. And I think it first of all starts off that way when you are in school, because it's like life is not like how it is in school. In school, it's like you are rewarded for getting it right all the time. The more you get right, the higher your score. And I'm like, wow, man, life isn't like that.
Yeah.
The more you get wrong, the more you learn, the higher your score, if anything. You know, if you get everything right in life, then you haven't learned anything. It's like just an accumulation of all the things that you've already learned before. So if you're not getting anything wrong, how there's no experience. So I think you have to break out of that school mentality and really go out there and try new things. Just try it. Just try it. What, snails? People eat snails? Sounds disgusting, but you know what? I'm going to try it anyway. If I
Exactly.
vomit, I vomit. You
You
know?
might love it.
Exactly. And you know what? I remember squid for years. People told me about squid, and I was like, "Do you know what? You eat squid, okay? There's other things on the menu which I can eat." And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I enjoyed it. It got to the point where I was eating squid every week.
I
But
tell you what, octopus
mhm, is
is
the one.
absolutely delicious.
Okay. It's the one.
Your face.
All right. All right.
Just to add
Next.
that to your list. But also, I think other people's opinions is a reason why people are worried about failure as well. Because you can go off and unless you do have that, again, drive or reason or really thick skin. I remember the first time I competed and people said to me, oh, why are you doing that? You're never going to place.
Right. Wow.
Who at that time I didn't even care whether I was going to place. I just wanted to do it. It's like I want to have a go at competing. And I did. And guess what? I came third. Wow, in my first ever show. But I still remember all the naysayers. Why would you do that? Why would you put your body through that? Why, yeah, again, like, what's the point? I had a go, and guess what? I liked it, and I did it a lot of times again. And then I had an aspiration, and I, saw federations and people that I loved in them. I thought, I one day want to be on that stage. It's really similar. You just
Yeah.
have a go. You've got to block the noise out because you don't know how you're going to feel unless you have a go. And plenty of people compete and they never do it again. It's like the worst experience ever, and they're happy to have done it. Um,
Mm.
but for others, it becomes a journey and something that they love. And also it can end too. It's okay to stop, right? It's okay to have done it for a certain number of years or had a go at something for a period of time and say, right, that's it. It's time for me to hang up my shoes with that and do something else.
Mm. Pretty much what I did, really. I know of people who has just competed and competed like again and again and again. And sometimes I question, are you doing this because you really love this so much? Or is it because of like what people expect you to do? So you're just
Yeah.
following, people's expectations. I quit pretty early. I was like, I knew what my goal was. I
Hmm.
wanted to display my body on the stage to see if judges would like it. And then it's almost like that same saying about like when you're in your 20s and you're concerned about what people think about you, but when you're in your 40s, you don't care. It got
Mm.
to that point where I was like, okay, I've got the validation, but I don't really care about validation anymore. I'm validating myself. I look good. Bye. So, continued on with life, and I just felt that, yeah, that was a journey. That was part of the journey, and I felt like I learned a lot when I was competing.
Mm.
Um, because I wasn't very confident, and the idea of like the idea that now I will be comparing myself to other people, that was pretty scary for me because I kind of felt I looked good. And when I looked at competitions, just the whole thing about being on the stage, it looked exciting.
Hmm.
But then the other part to that was now you will be compared as to whether you look good enough. That bit frightened me. I was like, I don't want to be compared to anyone. I just want him to look at me and say, all right, do you look good? But I was like, this is the only way I'm going to get on the stage. I'm going to have to be
Yeah.
compared. So now I have to look at other people to see whether I believe I look better than them. And I never really compared myself to other people that way. And then what I found, what was going on during my fitness journey when I was on the stage was, and it happens with a lot of competitors, when you compete, now you don't even like your body anymore. Like you come off the stage, you train, you end up looking good, and then someone will compliment you and be like, "Oh my God, you look great." You'll be like, "Yeah, but I still need to work on my forearms, my calves. They're not quite there." And oh yeah, I need to work on my lower back. Like, dude, accept you look good. Like as a competitor, you will always complain, and I felt that of myself, and I saw it with the people that were around me, and I thought, nah, I don't want that to be me anymore. I know I look good, and that is it. When somebody says it, I'm gonna accept the compliment. Thank you. I appreciate that. you know. So that was one of the reasons I thought there's, to a degree, competing can be good to give you a goal to go for, and the people who's looking for a big transformation as well. If they're struggling and they need something to strive towards, competing could be a great thing. Um, but for some people, it could lead to eating disorders. It just
Yeah.
depends on the personality, really.
Mhm.
Some people it be that way. Some people end up with friggin' that new term they use, bigorexia.
Yeah.
I'm not big enough. Like, dude, you're massive. Nah, it's funny. It's interesting. But yeah, it's all about learning as you're going along and um, just trying to grow, not necessarily physically, but every journey that you go through, um, every little, I don't know, checkbox that you have there. I think even if you don't hit certain goals, I think it's still fine. It's like you could try and go for something, and sometimes it's just not meant to be at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like
Absolutely.
okay, fine, just go with something else. I done I done Muay Thai for a bit, and then so many people talking about BJJ, and I thought BJJ, what does that stand for? And then I realized, and I was like, actually, watched it, and I thought, let me give it a go. And then when I was when I got in the ring, this guy pinned me to the floor and then he sat on top of me. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah, I ain't doing this. And then I left, I gave it a go. But the idea of a dude sitting on top of me just didn't work. And that's fine. That's fine. Could choose another martial art. You know what I mean? It's all good. It's all good. Um, so with what would you say would be your message to anyone who had been diagnosed with cancer? Like they've just been diagnosed, they are scared and they don't know what to do. What would you suggest for that kind of person? Is there any particular help you think they should seek? Any certain people they should speak to? Any practices they should go through to make them stronger? What would you think to help them to be resilient during that time?
I mean, I can only speak from the lessons of my own experience. I was scared. Um, I know I felt quite alone in it. I was very careful about who I spoke to about it in that immediate term. So getting your closest confidant around you, whether that be like a sibling or, one of your really close best friends, um, I think is quite important at that very early stage. And I would keep that circle quite tight until you have clarity of what your journey is going to look like. And I say that because the people around you will have questions that you don't have answers to. And that can make things really stressful. So at that early stage for me, when I was like, okay, so you hear the words cancer or breast cancer or whatever it was for me, but I still didn't know what the next 6 months were going to look like. And immediately everybody's like, so what about this? What did they say? What did they say? And it starts to become really stressful because you feel like you should have the answers and you're living this process of what's happening to you. And even though those people are probably doing it out of care, there's a lot of projection going on. And if it was anything like the people around me, they go off and do their own research as well. And Chat GPT is all of a sudden a doctor too.
Yeah,
So you've
of
got
course.
all of these things involved, and you're still processing the news. So being able to carve that time out for yourself to sit and feel whatever you feel. And I called it sitting in my mud pit, because there were days where I really just was like, look, I want to cry today. Just let me cry. Can
Mm.
everybody stop telling me to feel okay? I'm in
Yeah,
my mud
yeah.
pit. It might take me 3 days to get out of my mud pit. I used to put a timer on it, no more than 72 hours. But like that's what I needed to do to deal with my emotions. So I think it's finding what that is. I only found it through it. I couldn't tell you now, like before it, that that's what I needed to do. but those people, um, making sure that they don't emotionally suck up too much of your time as well, out of them worrying about you by asking these questions of what did the doctor say, what did this do? It becomes a lot. Um, it got to the point for me where I just felt like, do I send an email circular with all of the information on because I just don't want to communicate what is going on?
Mm.
And I did start doing that a little bit of when I was further in the journey. Um, but there is a lot of support out there, and I have tried to tell one of my other friends as well, get the counseling, get the therapy really early on booked in, because you don't know how you're going to feel. And actually, it's really quite helpful. And there are other support networks that people who've been through this journey, like yourself or like me, that actually would be more than willing to have a conversation, to support and just say to you, yeah, it's shit, if that's, and not pretend, reach out to those people, because I think you would do it, Roger, for somebody who said, I don't know what to do, or even to a sibling of somebody that's going through it who said, I don't know how to help my brother or my sister. You and I would probably both say, well, actually, these are the things that I found really helpful. So I think that initial piece, and the next thing for me is just breathe, because actually the majority of the time people get through cancer.
Yeah.
I think that's the piece that you forget, that you're probably going to get through it. It's going to be really shit for a while. A lot of your life is going to be on pause or change in that period of time, and you're probably looking at a couple of years. So just breathe and just breathe through it, I think is the main advice that I've got.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, with the therapy that you was going through, do you still go through therapy?
I've
Um,
had a whole topic for another day, mental
oh,
health.
right, right, right.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of therapy, probably from my mid-30s, most of it. Um, Lots of different types as well.
Hmm.
I found it exceptionally helpful. I'm I then had a lot of therapy through my cancer treatment, really helpful. I decided to go for it all. I feel like, right, let's fix my brain even more than before. I probably shouldn't use the word fix. Let's evolve, from
Yeah.
where I've been. So I'm a big believer in it. But I think as a person, you have to be open and receptive to that process in itself. And also, you're not always going to align with every therapist. So I think there's if you are already going through an emotional journey anyway with cancer, and you decide that you want to go deeper than just a counseling into something that's a deeper therapy, just be aware of some of those things around, like who the therapist is and whether you really feel like it's working for you, and what is it that you need. If you're already somebody like me, I mean, I'd had so much therapy, I kind of knew what it was that I wanted to keep going with to get out of it.
Right.
Um, so I think there's that, but I also 100% recommend, when you've got through the bulk of your journey, to have some sort of therapy afterwards, because I thought it was really useful, because actually my life had changed.
Mm.
Everything felt different, and to help me realign, um, and also take away the fear of cancer recurring as well, because that's something I experienced, um, and move you to a place of, right, my life journey is going to continue. I think therapy was extremely useful.
Mm. That's cool. That's good to know. Good to know. I've done a little bit of therapy. Um, it wasn't even a choice, really, that I thought to myself, oh, I didn't even throw that in as an option. But
Yeah.
it was offered to me by Macmillan Cancer. They gave me some free therapy sessions, and I thought, okay, yeah, let's go for it. Why not? Someone to talk
Whilst you're
to.
doing everything else. Yeah.
I'm always giving free therapy sessions to my friends. I might as well get it for myself. So I took it on board, and it was cool. It was cool. Um, I felt for me, it felt like I just had someone to talk to. I was like, do you know what? This ain't really teaching me anything. But I mean, it's going to vary per person. I understand that. I've read so much books on psychotherapy, um, neurolinguistic programming, most things to do with how the brain works and emotional intelligence. So it's like, I'm not saying I'm friggin' bulletproof or anything, but I tend to know what sort of tools to draw for when I'm in a certain situation. Obviously, cancer's pretty new to me, so I'm like, okay, what can I get out of the toolbox for this one? And there were certain default settings which I was going through, which was all right. It was fine. It was just the whole physical um, um, limitations that stopped me from doing certain things. But mentally, it was like my mind sort of went into like override kind of um, the override switch went on, and then I was in an okay place. I was all right. I was thinking to myself, okay, how long am I going to be like this? But I was always focusing on the future and focusing on what I can actually do now. Okay, I can't do this now, but is there an improvement from a couple of days ago? You know.
Hmm.
But when I went into the actual counseling, um, don't know, don't know. It was just a cool chat. I felt to myself, for me, it was like sharing notes on different viewpoints on life, you know? So they would say some stuff and then I'll just share my points as well. I'm like, because I love to share ideas, and especially when it comes to human beings and their behavior, I
Hmm.
love that sort of discussion. So while they're telling me stuff, I'm like, okay, let me tell you some stuff. And this counselor afterwards, he was like, I've never spoken to anyone like you before. I was like, okay, thank you. It was cool, but yeah, there's certain people, depending on what point they're at in their life. It's about finding the right type of therapist. Yeah, to align with you, to align with your personality, um, and yeah, and hopefully they can help you grow from the situation. Yeah. All right. I think we've covered enough, to be honest with you. I
I
think
think
we've
we've
done
covered
good.
lots, haven't we?
We have. Well, look, Shivani, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you for giving me a space to share
Yeah,
my
your
story as well. And
story is
hopefully
amazing.
we help some people along the
Yeah.
way.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, let's say they want to, as a woman, want to speak to another woman about maybe some troubles they might be going through, maybe they've been diagnosed with a disease. Do you feel you'll be comfortable to talk about that through?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to just be a woman as well.
Okay.
Um, I think we can't, I don't restrict. Why would I not want to help a man who's got an issue to do with cancer as well?
Yeah,
I would say that was unfair. Um,
very true.
so
Very
yeah, I mean, people have reached out to me, both just, I mean, from a feedback perspective, um, because I recently recorded a different podcast that's on my Instagram page. So people have reached out to me there. People have also reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Mm.
It's another interesting place to connect with me. So yeah, I mean,
All right. So you're on Instagram and LinkedIn. What is your profile name on
at
Instagram?
Shivani Fitness on Instagram, and just my full name on LinkedIn, which is
Shivani
Shivani Vaghela.
Vigela.
That's
Okay.
right. Got
All right. All right.
it.
I'll write that in the description so people can find you.
Cool.
Thanks again so much. It was really good, really interesting. You got so much energy.
Oh, thank
Training
you.
you do. Yeah. Feeling it, feeling it.
So welcome. Thank
Thank you very much. You have a tremendous day and
you.
we'll catch up real soon.
Fab.
Nice one.
Thank you for listening to the Roger Snipe Show podcast. It is my goal to find incredible guests who have extraordinary stories or advice. Education is key. The more we learn, the more we can also teach. It's also about remaining curious and hungry for knowledge to progress. All sponsored ads and affiliations are from only reputable brands or companies which I have personally vetted and trust. Please take advantage of these codes and subscriptions to increase savings on all products. If you get a moment, I would greatly appreciate a review, as this helps to increase visibility and allows me to share with more amazing people just like you. Be phenomenal and stay blessed.